Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, November the 12th, 2025 edition of Trading Trends Stock Edition. Hope you guys were able to catch some conversation with me on the morning show with JC and Straza and Spencer. It was a great conversation. We discussed the global bull market, something I've been writing about. If you've been reading, the Investopedia Chart Advisor of the Week series. We're going to write about single stocks tomorrow as well. Kind of a little bit of the stuff that we're going to cover today. Let's get into it. Okie dokie. Some little trading notes as well. I exited the SLV call spread today for 110% gain. That was awesome. SLV on the cusp of new 52-week highs. Big metals and mining surge today, as well as I entered a couple trades as well. I bought Ethereum. Crypto traded sideways to down today. And what else? We'll get into it throughout the day. Oh, also bought TLT call spread. Bonds looking good ahead of probably next month, 65% baked in, 25 bip cut. Okay, so let's do the screen share and we will get into it here. Here we go. All right, so we'll cover some of these stocks. Really big days. On Holdings, Clearwater Analytics, and AMD. Big volume and big moves. AMD, a massive rally. They have really positive announcements coming out overnight. And then we'll look at Tencent, Applied Digital, and Nebius. All dropped 8% today. Let's take a look at all those a bit. Let's get into the, let me go into the dashboard panel here. If you have a ticker or something, put it in. If you like what we're saying, subscribe. Okay, why? There we go. All right, dash panel. There we go. So before we get to the SPY, which is right there, we will handle AMD in a second, up 9%. A monster amount of trading in several semis, especially that one, of course. Tesla down 2%, but it's been on such a tear. Let me just tighten this up a little bit. There you go. Meta down 3%. This one continues to be a dog. It's gone lower than I thought. Like I said, I'm writing about this as well. 610 to me was around the floor, but it just continued to go lower. It closed at 609 today. It continues to be not only the dog of the Mag 7, but really of the most popular, most price volume weighted stocks. Meta has really had a fall in the several week and a half here since they announced earnings. I still think it'll come back. Important to understand the 200-day moving average for that is way at 680. It probably gets magnetized towards that and then stops, but that's several percent away from here. Palantir down 3.5%, but the thing is an absolute superstar, profit taking, not bubble bursting. The stock has not closed under the 200-day moving average one time this year, even when SPY was at a 52-week low in April. Google down 1.5%, no thing. The thing's been on fire, 50% year to date, for goodness sakes. Amazon down 2%, stock looks great. Oracle down 4%. That one has given away much, not all, but much of its gains. It's up 20% year over year. Micron still continues to be basically a perfect stock, up 1.5%. And United Healthcare, the dog that is, added 3.5%, but healthcare is at 52-week highs and looks amazing. Here is the intraday on SPY. We started selling off from the opening bell. We hit our low right before lunchtime Eastern. At 11:30 a.m., we got to 681, which is under the VWAP of 683, and then a nice surge here at 12:30, and we really contended with a VWAP till the end of the day. VWAP is 683.19, and we basically closed at it, just 8 cents above, basically, to be up a nickel, basically, on the day. As we zoom out here, again, just beautiful RSI trading. S&P has been above 40 RSI going back from basically the week of the lows. So they've really stepped in to buy this market continuously. We have been having, if you remember what I've been saying for our bearish distribution phase to end, I was looking on or around the day that we've had, sharpened is around Tuesday of next week. It could be turning a little bit sooner than that, though. Like I said, the difference for that is if we're in the buy the dips market or sell the rips. You've seen what happened, with earlier, advances in the day, and then they sell it off and just sometimes get to VWAP. So kind of what we're thinking here in terms of setups. If the level I'm looking for closely is 675 and under that, I do think those will be rewarded into Thanksgiving and early December as we get very close. I'm calling for all new all-time highs in SPY. 695 is what I'm looking for. The prior all-time high was struck on October 29th at 690. I think we'll best that by 1%. Government shutdown expected to end this week, 95%, I believe, and Polymarket and Kalshi. That'll be a tailwind and a relief for equity markets. Folks are saying that things are going to attract their investor dollars into crypto. I'm not so sure about that. Crypto's been looking exceptionally weak, but I am literally putting my money where my mouth is and bought Ethereum call spreads this morning. But like I said, going back to SPY, if you can get in under 675, I think that will be wonderful. As you have an advance here, I'm looking at 695 or a nice 3% advance in SPY alone. So we're getting very close. If you get that, pull back on whatever happens tomorrow or the day after, if you can get in around 675, I do think you'll be rewarded with, like I said, a 695 print in a couple of weeks. Let us get, I'm positioned as such. All right, let us get into some of these massive movers today. First one, ONON, On Holding. If you guys aren't familiar with this one, I believe they are a massive semiconductor company. You can see the stock has been in a, oh, I'm sorry. This is in the textile group. I was thinking of the different semiconductor. These guys make athletic footwear. No wonder why the chart looks like crap. This retail for, running, outdoor apparel have not been trading well. This is an $11 billion apparel and luxury goods company. They reported earnings. And they, smashed it, it seems. Chart, not spent too much time on it, but this thing peaked in January of this year at $64 and was in purgatory here. Even though the 200-day moving average was rising, this was an amazing earnings report back in May that sent the stock up 12%. It could not eclipse those new highs, even on overbought readings. And then really here, a tango with the 200-day moving average. And this was, look, tell me, computers and algos and portfolio managers don't look at technical analysis. Look at this July 22nd. It starts to crest and trade under the 200-day moving average. Look at the earnings announcement here, up 9% August 12th. It got to the 200-day moving average, and they said, nah, I'm not interested. We know what this thing is worth for the past year, and I'm not going to buy. Now, more recently, 52-week low came literally 5 days ago. This thing pierced $34, oversold reading, 26 RSI, ugly, and it appears no one was expecting this positive earnings report. The stock actually got as high as nearly $45 today, and then they sold it off to close nearly at $41.69, just a hair above VWAP. VWAP was $41.39. Yeah, I'm not going to chase this here. I think guilty until proven innocent on this thing. I think that is your ceiling. I don't think I can't believe someone paid $44 this morning. Every squirrel does get a nut. That's what I was preaching this morning, but also, 58 RSI is the highest this thing has been since it had a rising 200-day moving average back in June. There's better trades than this. And if you're super exuberant on the name, the ceiling for me on this is 45. You can see the Bollinger Band right there. And then also basically coincides with 2-month highs. And it's just a weak name. I do like that it's gotten above 50 RSI or 53 RSI for the first time, like I said, since that swoon here in June. But massive amount of trading today, up 18%, a huge day for this group. We're really bullish. I want to try to suggest trades for this. You could probably sell 35 puts. I don't know how much they're going to generate, but otherwise, if you really have some risk and you believe in a comeback and every squirrel gets a nut, and just look at this. This is its first green day since October 28th. So again, the rubber band got way too extended, and now it went the other way in one day. Enough about that piece of crap. Next is Clearwater Analytics, up 7.5%. That is a big move, and hence why we're talking about a multiple standard deviation. These guys are a software name. They are, in terms of market cap, a $5 billion name. Not a ton of revenue, $640 million to justify that 28 PE. Similar chart to me, to be honest, uglier than On Holdings. This one fell out of bed from one reading April 3rd and entered oversold for the first time. You don't want to see strong performers get oversold. That's no bueno. That's not what you want to see. And really, it never got back. If you were really a forgiving person, you would have stayed in this until the 200-day moving average started to go lower, and that officially came mid-June. Once, honestly, it started breaking down under this $20 ironically, the level we are at today. So very similar prognosis. I don't love chasing this one here. My ceiling is about $20. Again, similar to where we are, 20 quarter with that Bollinger Band. If you want, I guess you can maybe sell the 17, 18 puts. This one spent very much far less amount of time oversold. This thing gets oversold for, a day or two, and then you get dead cat bounces. But the 200-day moving average hasn't even been, attracted to current price since April. So don't love that in terms of 7 months. A nice rally though. In the past couple of days, this is a winner on the week too, because it's had a couple of green days in a row here. But that is Clearwater Analytics up 7.5% today. And then, of course, the belle of the ball, let's get into it. AMD, very advanced micro devices. Just a great looking chart. They're basically talking about tripling revenue in about 5 years. Data center, they're just all in the right spots. People used to view this as NVIDIA's little brother, but this is a behemoth $400 billion company now. So if you call that a little brother, then I don't know what to tell you. Right here, I mean, it did a lot in a day. I literally just wrote the piece for Chart Advisor. I said entries under 240 will be rewarded. I think you potentially, I don't know if it's going to get there. That's $18 away, 7-8% from basically a give back of all of today. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm doing it on a price level basis. Under 240 it seems to be profitable. My target is 270, right around 270, which would be new all-time highs for this. And I do expect it to get there in 2 to 3 weeks. It could happen tomorrow. But I do think this is bullish. If it zigs and zags and you get a little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of a retracement down to about that 238 level, it's a 21-day exponential moving average, you'll be sitting pretty. I'm pretty sure of that. Let's go to, so those were the big movers of the day to the upside on a day where SPY was on Dow all-time high, Q's on IWM down 0.25%. Let's get to the losers. And there were several, and they all dropped exactly 8%. Tencent Music, the maker of Time Waster TikTok, an ugly day, down 8%. I'm looking at EEM and FXI closely. They are setting up. I actually like all of Asia. Taiwan, South Korea. This is truly a global bull market. If you think it's just dollar debasement trade, last I checked, S&P is less than 1% away from all-time highs. So you know where to stick it. Right here, Tencent has looked bad recently. Really a strong performer. And this is kind of similar to crypto. What I mean by that is, look at this. September 17th, new highs, 2670, wonderful. 2 days later, under 50 RSI, truly an exit. But with a stock like this that has had a beautiful trading range, and honestly, look at the breakouts it's had above 15, and then the new level above 20. And then, like I said, the highs are at nearly $27 here. Look at this today. The 200-day moving average is 1859. The low today, 1804. VWAP on the day, 19.5. It did close underneath VWAP on a very bloody day. Multiple standard deviation loser. Oversold for the first time all year. So they are pretty bearish on TikTok. And just look at the sentiment, the character change of this. Above 50 RSI for months and months since Cinco de Mayo. And then look at this. The ceiling now is 55 RSI. It got there, and then they sold it. So what do we say here? I like Asia. I like emerging markets. I think you're getting an opportunity here in $32 billion Tencent. They do make $4 billion of revenue a year. Be careful. This one might be a little frustrating in near term. Again, look at the bands here of how tight they got. And that is going to give way to a big move, and that's what you got here today. Let the dust settle a little bit. I really fully believe in getting at least half back. So I want to see this down, 4% or less tomorrow. It's in my head built on the Fibonacci retracements. That's why I do a 1 year 50% retracement, and then 62%, so on and so forth. So you want to see this get cut in half, maybe down 4%, down 2%, maybe flat, up 10 bips, and so on and so forth. And that's when it goes on. But that's a good sign that hammer, they send this down to $18, and then they close at 19. Don't love seeing the oversold. Give it a minute for the dust to settle. But I do believe this is headed towards $22 in the next 3 weeks. So a great way. I will write this down. I'm not loving getting in right now. I do like EEM and FXI, but I will write this down here and consider selling, and I think you will get paid, selling the $18 puts if you want to grab your balls and do that. I think that's also a way to do it. You can sell the 18-17 put spread. When you're selling the 18s, buy the 17s. Alternatively, you can also buy the January 22 calls. I think any one of those will be profitable. Give it about, early December. Today, they got it handled, though. Let's take a look again. We took a look at, this is what I'm talking about every scroll gets a nut. We looked at ONON, CWAN, and AMD, okay? ONON and CWAN are crap. They got into it due to positioning and upside surprise, right? AMD is just a great story, continues to get better, wonderful. TME, sure, they did have earnings today. They weren't expecting it. It got right to there and said, you know what? No, this is still an uprising view of this company in the past year. We'll stick with it. And it basically stuck the landing, essentially, and it held the 200-day moving average. I want to see what happens tomorrow, but this is a winner that got sold off. Remember, we're talking about ONON and CWAN, crap that they were bidding. TME, it's not profit. I mean, it's not bubble bursting. It's profit-taking behavior. There's a difference. Let's look at the next one and see if we're onto something here. With Applied Digital, again, a winner, but without even looking at the chart. Something was down 8% today. They were liquidating the hell out of it. No, it was just profit-taking after it's had a ridiculously year. This thing, back in April when SPY was getting it on the chin, this was a $3 stock, okay? $3 stock. Last month, it went to $40. Trees don't grow to the sky. These guys are in IT services. They don't make a ton of money, $175 million in revenue, but they are an $8 billion market cap. They do digital infrastructure solutions to high-performance computing and AI industries in North America. No earnings. Just some AI trades that, got kicked in the teeth today. AI, the actual ticker, the C3 AI, had a 52-week low today. So not a great, harbinger, not really a great sign for that, in that maybe it just came a little bit too far. You don't like to see that name, though. That's a 52-week low. But back to Applied Digital, this thing has had ugly flow since October 13th. And again, what I mean by that, October 17th. Again, it still held 50 RSI just up until 2 days ago. And then now it's testing the 50-day moving average. The 200-day moving average is still literally 2x from here. It's 13.58. We're trading $26. That's 2x. Okay, so it's super extended. I don't even love buying stocks. I get more than 2x extended like that. You got to see the candles. These are big, red, ugly candles since the highs. That's what I'm talking about by ugly flow, meaning when 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock comes around, they're saying, no, I don't want this here. Get rid of it for me, essentially. Let this one take a little bit of time. It may, I think 25 holds, to be honest. I think this was an ugly day. Similar to what I said before, I want to see these bars get cut in half. So it was down 7.5 today. I don't think it's going to be up 7 tomorrow. Probably have an inside day. So down 3, down 4, something like that. And like I said, down 2, flat, up, so on and so forth. And then you want to buy into strength, sell into weakness. That's the way this goes. The dead cat bounce on this strong name, I don't even want to call it dead cat bounce, but the rally that I am expecting over the next probably closer to 3-4 weeks, because this is just a bit of an unwind. I don't like seeing the weakness at the lowest RSI it's had in 8 to 7 months. The rally, the upcoming rally, I believe will take it to $31, and that is a massive, massive move. Give it a little bit of time. I don't want to outright sell the 25 puts, although because I want to see what tomorrow's candle looks like. But you probably can sell the 25 puts. Otherwise, you could buy the January 31 calls. So I'm giving out a lot of great trades here. Another one, and again, I wrote down TME because I do want that Asia exposure. I already have a bunch of AI type beta related plays. And then Nebius Group, we were talking about this one before, and we marked this day. There were a bunch of earnings today from some firms worth watching. Circle was another one that got the teeth kicked in. Nebius Group, this is a tech company engaging in building full stack infrastructure to service the global AI industry. So today, AI was just not the flavor of the day. This is a $24 billion company now. They make about $230 million in revenue. This got kicked down nearly 8% today. So I have a bearish distribution phase for this continuing for about another 8 days or so. I like the floor of $90 on this. You can almost see the perfect W pattern forming. It went a little bit lower today. They shot it down as low as 91.73. VWAP was 97. It closed beneath it. This could be, I want to see what it does tomorrow. This is overbought many times throughout its history for the year. And today, the lowest RSI, like I said, since April. So we'll see. Like I said, I think it's just profit taking. We already talked about how big this company has went in 1 year. This was $18 last November, and then it got to $140. Trees don't go to the sky. You know what I'm saying. After this bottoms around $90 in the next week or so, I do forecast it to rise back to $114. So again, you probably sell those 90 puts. You will get paid because this is volatile. Be careful. Otherwise, you could buy those Jan 115 calls. Giving you a ton of stuff here. Okay, let's go top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. One has been mentioned before, so we'll do that one a little bit quickly. But that's not number one. Number one best week belongs to XPEV or Xpeng ADR. Today, a down day, down nearly 3%. This stock has rocketed up 25% in the past 5 days for an average of 5% a day. Today, giving some back. Yesterday was a massive day for it, up 8% on Veterans Day. With 52-week high, you barely scratched 70 RSI. Don't love to see that. Lets me know it's not as broad a rally. You could give way and really start to descend towards 23 from quick glance. The spot of prior resistance, textbook says, becomes new support. That stands out to me. Massive volume, too. Looks like everyone that wanted to get in got in. I'm just seeing similar to what we saw on the other charts. 27 quarter. Today's view up was 27.41. They sold it and they closed it underneath there. This is an Asian name. Like I said, I wrote Tencent. Let's see. This is even better chart than Tencent. They do report earnings I'm seeing here Monday, November 15th. So be careful with that. If you guys don't know this company, they do the EVs. It's the Tesla of China. That's all that this is. It's the Tesla of China. They do make money, though, as does Tesla. $27 billion market cap, and they have $8 billion revenue, or so they tell us. It's Chinese, so you know how that goes. I would not personally chase this here. Exactly what I was talking about with the give back. 8% yesterday, up. Today, down nearly 3%. That's what I'm talking about. Looks like to me this is going to have 2 to 3 weeks in the penalty box. It's a great-looking chart. Maybe rising tide lifts all ships, and that Asia is really starting to look good. The chart, it looks absolutely stellar. This thing bottomed in January. It started the year at $11. So again, almost a 3-bagger there in the stock alone. But for the next 2-ish weeks, I would curb your enthusiasm. I think this has $23 written on it. I don't love the idea of selling upside calls here just because I am bullish Asia. You maybe sell the call spreads. You could sell, at 28 by the 29. Otherwise, I don't want to just outright buy puts. The chart looks stellar. But yeah, I do think we're just going to cap upside on this after it's had a stellar run, up 25%, a quarter of the value of the company in 5 days. Some people can't even get abs in 5 days. Number 2, second best stock week. If you guys were in Lyft, not Uber, Lyft, to a new 52-week high today. This name was dead in the water. If you guys remember, like years ago, Uber had Uber Eats and so many different levers in their business. Lyft just had the rides, and it looked awful. Wow. Like truly, this company, sliding lower 290 moving average, bottomed in April at $10, okay? And then really a beautiful resurgence with this earnings report in May, rocketed the company up 28% to an overbought registration. I love that. You can use code to filter out and filter for that. When you get a close above a 200 moving average and you get overbought, something's changed. Folks are saying, that's worth more than it's been worth in the past year, and I'll wait in line. I'll bid it up. And that's exactly what happened with Lyft. Then it had a bit of a swoon here in mid-August. Ugly. It had a week in purgatory here, and then a beautiful rally again here to be overbought. Massive volume on September 17th to send that company up 13%. And today up 1.6%. We're talking about it because it had the second best week after that XPEV, up 22%, an average of 4% roughly a day. You are overbought 71. This thing's had one red day since Halloween. It's November 12th. So they are truly bidding this up. The earnings were very good, up 6% that day. And here we are. Lyft, the market cap, by the way, is $10 billion on $6 billion revenue. So almost a bit of a value trap almost. But I personally, like I said, I wouldn't chase. Let me move that box out of the way. I wouldn't chase it here. They did rocket it up to 25 half today. and then they sold it even below VWAP. So I wouldn't chase this one. Something tells me while the flow looks great, this one kind of looks like it's going to get to maybe $21.5 to $22 over the next 2-3 weeks. So this one I actually do kind of like the idea. You got to be careful if you're looking for shorts, just tactical shorts. This thing hit 52-week high. I'm just saying it looks a little bit extended, especially when you had 5-6 green days in a row like that. So perhaps if you did want to sell the, 26 half type calls, I'm not so certain how much you'll get paid. Try to go 3 weeks out, and I think you'll be okay. Alternatively, yeah, that's probably what I like for that. I wouldn't buy call spreads. You don't want to buy puts either. And then check, of course, if the IV is over historical vol. I'm not looking at that right here, but we're talking about it because it's up 22% in the past 5 days. And then number 3, we'll do this one quick because we did it in the opening, is that ONON, that textile company. So Lyft, a winner. XPEV, a winner. Usually get like 2 out of 3 from what I'm doing here. It's, kind of continuation and one reversal. ONON is the dog here. Absolutely the dog, you can tell from the chart, but it's had the 3rd best stock week. And just so you know, my parameters are you got to be $20 per share and at least 10 million shares traded on average for the last 20 days. So that's ONON. We're looking at it's up 18% in the past 5 days because we're going from there to there. Enough of that crap. Okay, let's look at the losers, and they're all from the exact same section. Same sector, same subsector, and I actually got long one yesterday through options, and it got creamed a bit today. We'll take a look. The biggest loser, though, in the past 5 days is SMR or Nuscale Power. It's all the same kind of trade that I'm looking at here. So if you guys are long this stuff, you've not had a fun week. This is electrical equipment. They do. Oh, God. Modular Reactor Tech Solutions. Rolls right off the tongue. This is an $8 billion, essentially pre-revenue company. They make $65 million a year, which I think is like what OnlyFans girls make. This is not looking good right here. This is what I'm talking about with like Meta and with these other firms. So this nice looking chart, it peaked on October 16th at $57. It had an ugly swoon that day, down 11%. And honestly, it's still been trying to recover. You'll see the chart I'm talking about in the next one in a bit. And then they announced earnings just 6 days ago, and that sent the stock down 14%. And this is important. Earnings do, kind of confirm moves. You want to pay attention to it. So right here, of course, they don't have revenue. So earnings is kind of a moot point. Like it's just talking your book. It's nonsense. These guys are hoping for a product in 2030, but earnings were bad there. Earnings were bad yesterday, or the last cycle 6 days ago, and here we are. In terms of levels, and I'm vested because I'm long a similar name. I would think the low today in terms of the candle was 25.60. VWAP was 26.45, so under there. We're back now. They filled this gap when we were overbought back in May. That's what we just did today. And that was one of the higher volume days of the year back there around Memorial Day. You almost got head and shoulders here with the RSI as well, interestingly enough. All that being said, give this one dust a settle. I don't have immediate trades for this. It is a star. The thing that stands out to me is if you want exposure, you can buy the January 35 calls and just do that. And then have a stop loss of, 50% loss or max it to full loss, basically. But that's the trade here. The 200-day moving average is at 30. I'm just rounding for simplicity's sake at $31, and we're trading 26. Don't love that. The red candles have been ugly here, and they have been since the high. So a bit of an exit from Nuscale Power Corp. We will look at the best trades of the year. This is not on there, though. The next, and the total sum on this Nuscale is down 31%. That's wild. That's what happens when you don't have revenue. You can go up a third of the value of the company in a day, and you can drop a third of the value of the company in a day. So right here, down 31% over the past 5 days, or an average of 6%. You see what I'm talking about here? Averaging 6% down days. Look what it's done today. Down 3%. Is the bleeding getting better? It was down 14. Actually, down 6, 5, 3. Wanted to stabilize, literally what I'm talking about by saying let the dust settle. But great looking chart. This one hasn't had, really tough times since May. And then after that, like I said, I do think this heads to $37, to be honest, over the next 2-3 weeks, which is what makes me believe it may be worth it to just buy those January 35 calls. Next, Iren. These guys reported earnings this week. I was looking at it closely, and that's what happened there when it sent the stock down 12%. Okay, Iren Limited, I was getting really close to buy this. Instead, I bought the next chart we will talk about. This is vertically integrated data center businesses in Australia and Canada. They are a $16 billion company. They do make money to the tune of about $700 million in revenue a year. So this is, to me, in a clear bearish distribution phase. I don't want to touch this for about another week and a half. To me, the floor on this is $43. These names, when they give way, they give way. So 50 looks like a safe ceiling for here. I also like what happened with that hammer there on the 22nd. It went to $48 and they said, no. And then literally days after, they sent it back to 66. So I do think it hangs in, but I do think it's in the penalty box for a week and a half with about a 47 floor. So essentially just inside of that. But sloppy looking chart, lowest RSI since April. When that happens, just look out. It's kind of the fat person on the seesaw. You can really fly the other way. And then after that, I do think the rally will then bring you to $61. So that's kind of where it's been, where it's really bounced from before. So that is Iren. We're talking about it because it's down 27% over the past 5 days, or an average of 5% a day. Today, down 3. Wait for it to lessen. It looks like it's approaching the 50-day moving average at $52. Next, and this one I got long yesterday, rhymes with spaghetti. Although if you got long in the past week, you should be eating ramen. This thing down 10% today, Rigetti Computing. I'm not stopped out yet. I bought the Jan 45 calls, okay? So right now, I'm not looking so stellar. I'll tell you when I'm right. I'll tell you when I'm wrong. We don't always double on positions like silver. Sometimes you got to get stopped out. I got stopped out yesterday on oil. Like I told you guys, I'm actually looking at potentially going long some of the stronger performers like an Exxon and some of those names. But going back to Spaghetti Rigetti here, this is we'll do it for the next spot, your leader year over year, but we're not talking about that for this reason now. We're talking about it because it's down 24% in the past 5 days, or nearly 5% a day. This thing has looked like crap. Honestly, like this one I'm talking about with these exits. Highs on October 14th, no bearish divergence, 85 RSI. What happened the next day? They rocketed it to 58 and then more of a swoon. And that's how you get from a whopping $58 to $28. And that's the risk when these companies have very little revenues. Rigetti is a $10 billion company with 7 million earnings. I took a listen and read of their earnings 3 days ago. Comical. It's just totally, quantum computing and quantum superconducting processors. This is years out stuff. Hence why it carries a robust, 200 PE. That being said, it's the year over year leader. Okay. So this to me is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having a 1-point game. That's fine. He's going to go back to his MVP ways. Right here, I do think, and hence one of the reasons why I got long, I do think the 28 floor holds. I like that position. Oh, we got a reader. What's up, Caleb? A viewer here. I did QBTS calls and got stopped out. I understand QBTS is the second leader year over year. Thank you for that transparency. I understand. I could be well on my way too with Rigetti, and if that's the case, that's why you position options for pretty much max loss. I kind of have a 50% stop loss on these things. And again, it's January and it's straight vol. So hopefully not too many more down 10% days. But I do think the group is going to stabilize. For me, I think this, it would be silly to me for the S&P to have new all-time highs at 6950. And for this to still be a dog, the leader of the stock market year over year in terms of single stocks. So for me, I think this is still headed to $37 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. It will not be a straight line. And again, similar to what I'm saying about having the candles, again, down 10% today. You're at the bottom Bollinger Band, and your support there is at the 200-day moving average at 17.5. The spot of the prior breakout in September before it went on this Michael Jordan run from mid-September to mid-October being overbought that transcended and carried the stock from 18 to 57. Trees don't go to the sky. I can't say it enough. This thing has to take a breather. The one thing I will warn about Rigetti, I don't like seeing a stock getting long it, and it's below the 1 year 50% Fibonacci retracement. And for this name, I pay attention to that. It was 29.70, and we went below it today. One day, a trend does not make. I don't love seeing these ugly candles. And the earnings were a non-event as expected, but I do still believe this to head to $37 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Rigetti down 24% over the past 5 days. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you've been short SMR, short Iren, and long XPEV, congratulations. Just shut the laptop. You're crushing it. Those are 3 best absolute stock trades in the entire market. Now, time for my favorite segment. Top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks. Oh, what do you know? It's Rigetti up 1,800% year over year. So for you guys, mathematicians, PhDs, quants, you're down 24% this week. It's up 1,800% on the year. I think that's okay. Okay, so even if this wanted to go back, you saw some other stocks, Meta's underneath its 200-day moving average, and we still believe in, of course, totally different business model. This could still shed literally $11. Okay, that's a massive, massive move. And the trend, say what you want, is still in place with a rising 200-day moving average. If it just pierced and went back up, the trend's still in place. This is the stock of the year. I don't have to tell you, last November at this time, it was $1 stock. It's $28 now. And you think the top is in? Shame on you. That's all I'm going to say on that. So trades, I already told you. Just copy me if you want. The Jan 45s. You can get them cheaper than I did yesterday too. That's your number 1 leader on the year. Number 2, Caleb just alluded to it. Q to the B to the T to the S. That's D-Wave Quantum up 1,600%. Okay, number 3, by the way, it's in the same space, but the gains are way back. So it's important to understand where the alpha and the relative strength is coming from. Similar chart, peaked on the same day, I believe. Yeah, pretty much same week at $47, and this one went to $27 today. Very, very similar. Did these guys have earnings very recently too? 6 days ago. These guys, $10 billion name on 24 million revenue, so pretty much similar deal. Let the dust settle for this. I don't like this thing was also down an exact 9% today. This looks like it wants to go a little bit lower. Good job getting stopped out. Discipline pays, Caleb. So you did the right thing. This looks like, to me, this is where they can get to $24. So another 10%. This doesn't look like it's done yet. The low today was 26.12. VWAP was 27.49, and they hammered it under. This does not look like it's in a place of strength right now. Hasn't even been above 50 RSI for 9 days. After the dust settles, I do think this shoots up to $31. So I do like Rigetti a little bit more. That's why I entered. But I do think a rally comes in this. And if you're like Caleb, you're just, it seems a bit early. Hopefully you didn't do that trade before earnings. Some of these, especially the pre-revenue ones, I know they can pop, but don't pay for the high IV. Rigetti, for example, the next day after earnings was, flat after the earnings call, and the IV sank. So I technically got it a little bit cheaper. Of course, the price spot moves, which doesn't really help matters. But this also, just last thing on this, this is bottom. I look at the stochastic momentum mix, which basically puts in the relationship of price of the declines and advances relative to itself in terms of its, a volatility adjustment. So this is bottom the same way several times this year. You don't have to worry about the exact number, minus 28. But look at my line here, right here, okay? It marked the bottoms back here in August. It marked the bottom right there at the end of June. It marked the bottom there at the end of mid-April, March, and so on. Yeah, and that was the last one. When I say bottom, I'm talking about in terms of like the actual bleeding out and this cratering. It at least went sideways to higher. But the problem is, like Caleb said, if you get in options, you need the things to move, and you need them to move now. So that's when you have to look for like MACD compression, moving average convergence crossover, when everything's equal. Then you get that big move, kind of like we saw in XPEV. I was doing nothing, and then vamoosh. But yeah, QBTS, let this settle. I think it wants to get to $24, which is another 10% down. And then I would enter, honestly, the Jan 31 calls. I don't know what you had, Caleb. If you want to share what option you had, we can talk about it maybe. And then number 3, all the way back, a paltry 400%. Who needs that junk? but it's a quantum computing name. OKLO. All right. So you got Rigetti, year-over-year leader, up 1,800%, even after this week down 24. QBTS up 1,600%. And then OKLO up 400%. That is your third leader. Things have, before it was Robinhood. We had different names in here. We had all kinds of different names. Now it's really, considering a year over year from November, it is the quantum computing space. OKLO, some facts on them. $16 billion company. They make no money. They are zero revenue. Zero. So they announced earnings, I believe, yesterday. And what do you know? Up 7% today. Almost comical. Who knows what they said? Maybe they made $1, which is $1 more than they've ever made. And I think this was a bad thing on the FT. They looked up the address, and it was honestly like a 7-Eleven and a guy in there. If you look up the address for OKLO headquarters, you'll be shocked. All that being said, it's a 400% year over year. It is a $16 billion company. The flows from this, from October 15th, the highs at $194 have been ugly, to be frank. It went all the way to $94. The 200-day moving average is at 65.5. These names are in the penalty box for the week, but on the year, they are the stars, the absolute stars. I think this one, like I said, about the candles getting less bad, that's what was happening here. And then you get a nice one, 5% up day on the 7th. And then you see what's happening here. Today, it wasn't ready for the prime time. They shot this up as high as 117. VWAP was 111, and they sold it right underneath. But I do think this one is coming together. I'm not super bullish. The vol is very expensive, very high. You could probably, in my opinion, sell the 100 puts. I might take a look at this tomorrow. I don't really need a ton more exposure in this space, but I don't hate the trade. You can sell the 100s. Otherwise, maybe the Jan 125 calls for OKLO. And Caleb wrote, I had the Jan 32 calls. Oh, no way. Okay, maybe just a tad early. I understand. I feel your pain. I do think it'll set up. Thanks for sharing. And we will be back on Friday with the ETFs. Bye.